Welcome to the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast by Venus O'Hara. I'm here to welcome you into the world of orgasmic living by hosting experts to discuss orgasmic topics such as nutrition, spirituality, personal development, sexuality, and much more. Here, we will offer lifestyle lessons that can help you lead a fulfilling, joyous, and orgasmic lifestyle. I'm your guide, Venus O'Hara. Welcome to the 41st episode of the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast by Venus O'Hara. In this Snow Moon episode, I'll be discussing the gift of sexuality, overcoming taboos, and sex and disability. I'll be interviewing Asta Philpot, a world-famous disability rights campaigner, actor, speaker, presenter and writer, pioneering and starring in documentaries and movies across the world. Then I'll be discussing the book I'm reading now, which is The Think and Grow Rich Workbook by Joel Fotinos and August Gold. And finally, we'll be experiencing a guided meditation with affirmations for celebrating the gift of sexuality. But first, let's talk about my experience with sexual shame, trauma, and pleasure. A good friend asked me to make some content about sexual shame, sexual trauma, and Catholic guilt. That's definitely something I can relate to, especially the Catholic guilt. And I think this applies to anyone who has received a conservative or religious upbringing. We are taught that sex is bad, and shame is like this backpack that's passed from one generation to another. And I think perhaps this might sound like an unpopular opinion. I think maybe the origin of this had a good intention because in the past, and maybe to some degree now still, our sexual reputation, particularly that of the woman, was very much related to her financial stability, her future, her worth. And I'm going to read a little extract from the book Sex for One by Betty Dodson, that describes this perfectly. For example, she says, "I began to understand how the politics of marriage had affected my sexuality. Although I said I married for love, I had really bestowed my gift of sex in exchange for economic security. Because I lived in a society that didn't give equal pay to women, I was unconsciously bargaining with sex for marriage, still the best financial deal for women. Whether I was saving sex for my prince, freely bestowing it on my lover, or granting exclusive rights in marriage, I was doing business with sex. When the female genitals have economic value instead of sexual value for women, marriage becomes a legal form of prostitution. It's no wonder that some wives feel like underpaid hookers and some husbands feel like overworked Johns." Wow, that really struck a chord with me when I read that, because I've always believed that you should never 100% rely on your partner. You shouldn't give your power away. I think it's nice to be taken care of, have dinner invitations and those things and gifts and whatever, but it shouldn't be your only option. I think I've always believed that it's important to pay your own way, because otherwise you can be in a situation where you're not in a relationship because you choose it or for love. You're there because there's no better option. And I think in the past, because of women didn't have the same opportunities they do today, then your sexual kind of purity was the only thing you had to kind of guarantee some kind of economic comfort. So that's I'm really glad that that's not the case. It's not the case in my life, and it's not something that I would recommend. I think I know a lot of friends still who are looking for a prince to take care of them and pay for their stuff, and get angry when they don't get their dinner paid for. But I don't think this is the right way to go about relationships. I think first and foremost, we are individuals and we should be able to pay for our own lives. And I think the sexual shame package or baggage that's passed down from one generation to the next is related to this type of thing as well. I think maybe it can come from a good place. Your family can tell you, hey, don't do this because we want you to be comfortable in the future. But it's also, we kind of embody this message in a very negative way to kind of believe that sex is bad and it should only be in a marriage situation. And if you don't want to get married, what does that mean? You shouldn't have sex, or you should abstain. I think that's definitely the message I received, and I just don't really agree with it. I'm just so happy that I don't need to rely on someone to pay for my bills, which is amazing. And also, I believe also that sex is an incredible gift, and I think the clitoris is an incredible gift. So I'm really grateful for the gift of the clitoris, the only organ that's designed for pleasure and also for orgasm. And I think if we ignore these gifts from the divine, we're kind of being ungrateful. I think it's not just about reproduction. I think pleasure has a great importance in life, in just relaxation, connecting with your body. And also, if you are into sacred sexuality, it's definitely a way to connect with the divine for me. But I think we should also have a good intention when we have sex. It's not about just shagging around with anyone who's available. I think it's, unless you find that fulfilling, I don't think we should be judging people's sexuality. But I think we should really tap into what your intention is when you have sex, and not do it for validation or because this person's going to pay for your dinner or pay for your future. It should be really a way that's going to celebrate your body and celebrate pleasure, the gift of sexuality, the gift that keeps on giving. And for me, I have been given this message of shame, but I never really took it on. When I was at high school, which was a very Catholic school, religion was my worst subject. I just couldn't get on board with some of the messages that I was receiving. I mean, for example, they completely ignored the subject of contraception, which I think is very important. And at the Protestant school down the road, they were putting condoms on cucumbers. And then in the Catholic school, this was all ignored. It's the message was, when a husband loves his wife so much, he puts his penis inside her. And I used to think that, if a family had 3 kids, it meant the parents had done it 3 times. I just imagine that sex automatically resulted in pregnancy and children. And I don't think being naive is a good way, in life. You should be able to make informed decisions about everything as much as possible. And for me, when I always had a lot of sexual curiosity, and I think that comes from when I actually started my period quite late compared to my peers. And during that time, I was kind of feeling a bit of FOMO. I was thinking, I want my period. I want to grow up. I really wanted to. So as I was in this stage of, all my friends had started their period except for me, I was reading so much about menstruation and puberties, and I was just dying to grow up. And so when it did happen, I was very, very well informed. And I also read a lot of women's magazines that taught me things that the nuns at my Catholic school would never tell me about sexuality. And because of this, I guess the great mystery around it made it more alluring to me. But what really kind of changed it for me was the second time I had sex. I wasn't really anticipating any pain, because the first time I had sex, it wasn't painful, even though it was disastrous. I've already shared the story here. It was literally over within 5 seconds. But I never experienced any of the kind of bleeding or pain that many of my friends reported to me. And for me, so the second time I had sex, my body was not tense. I was deeply in love, and I just had orgasm after orgasm after orgasm. I think it was the greatest physical and emotional and intimate pleasure I'd ever experienced in my life. It completely exceeded my expectations. And because it was so pleasurable, I was not going to accept any message that this was a bad thing. And I think that's probably why I'm quite spiritual now. I have gone down this path of sexuality because I'm so connected to the gift of sexuality. And it's not always been, I've not always used it in the best way. Sometimes it has led me down paths that might not have been the best ones for me, but now I believe that I've learnt and I'm using my sexuality in a very positive way with a good intention. And I really want to share this gift of pleasure with other people and help women, especially, to connect with their bodies and to appreciate this gift of pleasure, and also the power of orgasm, because I'm also giving lots of workshops about sex magic, and I'm going to be launching a course very soon. So I do believe that orgasm is a very powerful process and it can help you to manifest. And yeah, so I just really want to celebrate this gift of pleasure. So for me, I think the fact that it was so pleasurable, I was just not going to listen to anyone who's going to tell me that it was bad. Because if it feels so good, how can it be bad, you know? And also I think it's a beautiful way to connect with a partner when you are in love. And to not have that, I mean, I don't think it's the only thing though. I think for me, the greatest thing in a relationship has to be those messages in the morning, the small talk, that daily support when, you know, you have a meeting at work and then you've got someone to tell in the evening about how your day went, and they're involved in what you're doing, and they can give you advice, and having that daily support and just little hugs here and there and kisses, that intimacy that's not always sexual, that for me has to be the greatest thing about intimacy in a relationship. It's not all about orgasms, but orgasms are definitely nice. And when I find, I definitely have sexual trauma, but I don't have sexual shame. And when I meet so many people who have sexual shame, who just cannot, you know, get a sex toy and use it or enjoy it, they just feel blocked somehow. So I think some of the messages we've received about sexuality are not the best ones, and I think it's a real pity to not enjoy the gift of orgasm, the gift of a clitoris, and the gift of intimacy. Because if you're just having sex because you think you have to in order to maintain your relationship, you're never really going to be, it's going to be a block to intimacy, I believe. And I think I have friends who like this, who just, you know, give blowjobs because they think they have to, because otherwise the guy's going to go off with someone else when they're not really into it. And I think desire is one of the most sexiest things ever. You know, when your partner is genuinely into you, who genuinely loves giving you pleasure, receiving pleasure. But if you're just doing it because you feel like you have to, then it's kind of like not a good thing. You know, it can create a lot of internal conflict, and can make you see sexuality as an obligation rather than this incredible, beautiful gift that it is. Anyway, we're going to speak more about this, the overcoming the taboo of sexuality, and different attitudes or negative attitudes about sexuality, and celebrating sexuality with Asta Philpot. I really enjoyed this interview because I've followed Asta Philpot for many years now. I first saw his documentary For One Night Only years ago, and it impacted me in a very, very big way. And I think he has a very similar mission to me, that he wants to share the knowledge of this incredible gift of sexuality with more people and help to overcome the taboo. So let's check out this interview. Now it's time for this episode's interview. We'll be speaking with Asta Philpot, a world-famous disability rights campaigner, actor, speaker, presenter, and writer, pioneering and starring in documentaries and movies all over the world. Okay, Asta, welcome to the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast. Thank you so much for taking part in this video today. I'm very happy to have you here. And you are a world-famous disability rights campaigner, actor, speaker, presenter, and writer, pioneering and starring in documentaries and movies across the world. For those who are unfamiliar with your content, can you tell us a bit more about what you do?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for welcoming me onto your show. I'm honoured. I since the age of about 26, I've campaigned for the rights of people with disabilities to have a sex life and experience a sexual experience and an intimacy with each other. And we started off with a documentary in 2007 that saw me and two other guys on a road trip.
That's how I found you. It was the For One Night Only, the BBC One documentary film. And I was absolutely fascinated when I saw that. So I actually reached out to you after I saw it, and then we've been connected ever since. That must have been at least 10 years since I've seen that. So tell us a bit more about, for those who've not seen it, can you tell us a bit more about it?
Yeah, it's a documentary that. So I went to Spain with my mum and dad in 2006 on holiday, and at that point, I was really longing for an intimate experience with another woman. And we went into this Irish bar, and the owner must have heard us talking. And anyway, he says there's this great club down the road called Eclipse. I was like, all right, okay, we must go here. So off we went, all in the car. And yeah, it was a brothel in the middle of Spain. Incredible. I've never felt from that point. I'd never felt intimacy like that before in my life. So for me, it was almost a coming of age, and I felt a new man because I lost my virginity in a brothel. So after that, my friend died of muscular dystrophy, and he always wanted an experience, a sexual experience, and from that moment on, I made it my mission to try and help people who can't automatically have a sexual experience as easy as everyone else can. So I made it my mission to help those people, and that's what I've been doing ever since.
That's amazing. I think it's amazing that you can actually have that openness with your parents. I guess a lot of people don't have that support and understanding because sexuality is very taboo, as you know. So it's
Yeah, I think it's just the whole when it comes to disability and carers or parents. I think a lot of parents tend to wrap the person up with a disability in bubble wrap or cotton wool.
mm,
So it's almost like a protection zone. But I really think that it personally it's the wrong way to go because that person deep down wants these experiences but don't know how to express it because of that.
yeah, because of the shame. And if I remember correctly, on in the documentary, there was a moment when you put a post on a forum and to actually try and help people, and you got quite a negative backlash. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so as part of the documentary pre-prep, we had to go out and find two other guys to come with me on this road trip, and we put an advertisement out on a really popular publications forum here in England, and it basically said, "Look, what we're doing, and we're making a program, and we want you to come on a road trip." And yeah, it got really slammed on the forum, unfortunately, because I think they were kind of thinking that I was advertising for a seedy porn film, and I was kind of out to get people with disabilities. So it came across in the wrong way. But that's the kind of tendency as well, when because if you think about sex as one and disability as another, you don't really marry the two up, do you, in life? So I think I think that was the problem, and I think it still is.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so I was very surprised that that backlash. It was very interesting to see that. And was it actually a disability forum or was this a generic forum?
It was a disability forum.
Oh, actually, think I would expect a more positive response then, wouldn't you? From
Yeah,
like,
yeah, it
thank
was
God someone's doing
strange.
it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it was really odd, but in the end we got two guys and they were great.
Were you trying to get more than two people? I would have thought there'd be queuing up people to kind of get in there and have that opportunity. Would you
You'd be
were you only looking
surprised.
for two people or was
You'd be
it supposed to be for
surprised.
more?
You'd be surprised, Venus. It was initially we wanted more, but unfortunately it had to be two. So because there really wasn't that uptake, and luckily there's an organisation in the UK called the Outsiders, and they help people with disabilities and sexual experiences and stuff like that. So luckily they helped us because it wouldn't have happened otherwise.
I think I've heard of that organization. What's the woman who organizes it called? Is she
It's
called?
Tuppy Owens.
Yeah, I've heard of her many times actually over the years.
Yeah,
I think they
yeah,
did they have a famous award ceremony. Does that still happen?
they do. Yeah, yeah, they
Mhm.
do. It's really she's a great person.
I should get
She's
her on
done
the
a lot.
podcast. I'm gonna write her
You
name down.
should, you should, you should.
Yeah, yeah.
She's a good person for disability. She's done a lot of work and campaigning on sexual rights and disability and trying to break down the taboo.
Yeah, I think I've seen another documentary that she was in maybe around the same time because I just found this because actually what happened was I actually wrote an article about sexuality and disability and I had no idea this I had this incredible reaction. It was in El País.
Wow.
It was amazing and I ended up getting because there was a organization here called Yes We Fuck, or like the kind of Yes We Can, but Yes We Fuck, and it had like a two wheelchair thing in the is the logo, and they were
Yeah.
doing a lot of stuff. I'm not sure if they're still active because this is a long time ago now, and a lot of people were like, "Wow, we didn't know this existed. It was amazing." And one of my followers wanted to meet me in person. This guy who was born with his like feet the wrong way, and he had to have 40 operations to get them straight.
Wow.
And it was incredible because we met in a cafe and he brought his sex toys to show me. And I was like, it was really opened my mind to this whole new world. And also seeing the altruistic side of sex toys. People just think they're just frivolous objects, but the actual fact they can really help people, with especially with like hands-free stimulation, etc. So it was really, really an amazing
Yeah.
experience. Yeah.
I'm at the moment I'm ambassador of a charity here called Enhance the UK, and they're about to launch a line of sex toys for people with disabilities. So that's really exciting, and I've tried them, and they're great, and I
Mhm.
think it's coming. Hopefully, it's coming to the more to the forefront of people's minds and hearts that people with disabilities actually do have these experiences and longings.
Yeah, definitely, because everyone does, and it's just breaking
Exactly.
down those taboos. Because I remember, I
Yeah.
think in this other documentary, I think I saw Toppy Owens in. There was a guy who I think he was quite an older virgin. And I think he said sometime when he had this experience with a woman that he didn't know that a hug would be so warm, and it was like a moment to cry. It was like wow, it was just so beautiful to see this
Yeah, I just
intimacy.
think I think people I think people really need to kind of start opening their minds a little bit, because we live in a really unconscious world, you know. And I don't want to put a doomer on it, but we do, and that's the only reason why people with disabilities are seen the way they are, because people just aren't conscious.
Yeah, I guess people just don't want to think about it. They're just kind of like maybe feel guilty for their own capabilities or something and then just shut it
Well, yeah,
down.
it's
Mm.
funny, isn't it? But you know, I always say to people, or whatever show I'm on or podcast I'm on, that what how are we here in the first place? You
Yeah.
know, we've all had everyone's had that experience, so I'm trying to tie the link up between the what the taboo, and it's strange, isn't it?
I mean, for me, yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is my mission too, with female orgasm specifically. And I just think, how can the most beautiful thing in the world be so taboo? Just,
Exactly,
yeah, definitely.
exactly.
Hmm. So I saw that your story became a film called Come As You Are. Could you tell us about that process and what was it like to see your life events played out on screen?
Yeah, so first we had a movie called Hasta La Vista, and that was
Mm.
from a Belgian producer called Mariano Van Hoof, and he approached me after the BBC One documentary went out, saying that he'd seen the documentary and they would love to do make a movie out of the One Life, the BBC One Life, and I said, yeah, that sounds absolutely brilliant. So to cut a very long story short, um, the movie went into production, and yeah, it was just surreal. We filmed in Palamos, near Malaga area, that kind of Torremolinos area. No, Palamos was my original on the
That's
documentary.
Barcelona, yeah, isn't it?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, yeah.
Costa
We
Brava.
filmed, yeah, we filmed in Malaga for the movie, and yeah, it was just insane. Just because I went on set in Spain and Belgium, and it just to see this. No, it's not only a movie, but the message
Yeah.
being projected out into a bigger audience was incredible. And then it got made, and we won a lot of awards. We won the European the equivalent to the European Oscars, the top prize. Um, and then it got sold to Hollywood, and yeah, Hollywood remade it, and that was called Come As You Are. Um,
Okay.
Great cast, fantastic movie, but unfortunately, it didn't get the coverage that it deserved because of COVID. So
Okay.
it just released at the time of COVID, and it kind of, but it's there, and it's slowly doing its thing, and it's a beautiful film. It really is. It shows a great message, and that I've been campaigning for all these years, that people with disabilities love sex.
Was it actually based on the documentary? The story kind of, was it like your life?
Yeah,
The sequence of events was the same in both
yeah,
movies.
yeah, it was, yeah. There obviously, for fiction there are some things change, but
Mm.
you know, it was predominantly about the experience I had, which was very cool. I don't think a lot of people can say they've had a movie made about their experience, but it's important for me to just to be known for that, and people with disabilities and caregivers write to us, me and mum and dad, all the time, and ask for help, and just where to go, and we just say, look, it's fine, it's cool, just be open with each other.
That's amazing. So where can people see these documentaries?
You can see the documentary, the BBC One Life, on my website,
Uh-huh.
and you can see Come As You Are, the Hollywood remake, is on Amazon.
Oh, is
Or
it? Oh, brilliant.
yeah,
I've got
yeah,
Prime Video, so I'm going to watch that.
yeah, or YouTube. You can catch that. And
Okay.
Hasta La Vista. I'm not sure where Hasta La Vista is at the moment.
Is that in English? Is it
That's
in English?
that's subtitled Belgium,
Oh,
Flemish.
okay. Okay,
Yeah,
right. Hmm.
but the Hollywood one is in English.
Okay, great.
They're
Oh, that's
both
exciting.
fantastic films.
I'm going to definitely check that out on Amazon Prime.
Thank you.
Amazing. I can't wait to see that. It must have been a really interesting process to see like your story become fictionalized and see how the like dialogues happened
Yeah, I just
and the
it was
castings and stuff.
part of it. Yeah, it was very surreal.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, it was incredible to see. That I was sat there at one point, and I'm like, oh my god, just from that time in the bar in Palamos, um, that it's come to,
It's a life-changing experience. It's
yeah,
like your
it's just
mission.
yeah, exactly,
Mhm.
and I'm still doing that. I'm still forging forging through with it, and I don't think, to be honest, Venus, I've never stopped talking about sex since 2006.
Well, that was 2009, so
Right?
three
Oh
more
yeah,
years for me.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's like, but it's education, isn't it? And I think, I think, as far as disability goes, uh, I think people need to be educated from a young age that disability is just part of life, and I think that would help um, progress the mission that
Definitely
I'm on.
sexuality as well is like something that's just people want to forget that it exists, They just want
Well,
to
it's
kind of
always seen as
get
kind
out.
of seedy, or
Not
or
important.
criminal. Yeah, exactly. But it really is important because it's healthy for your body, mind, and soul.
Mm. Also, a lot of our life decisions are based on sexuality, our relationships, and and it's just so much more than in out, shake all about. It's just way more complex than that.
Absolutely, yeah. No, it is. It's
Yeah.
definitely it's about that intimacy with another human being, isn't it? It's about the connection you have.
You must have helped so many people. Do you receive messages a lot from other people?
Yeah, I do. I get a lot
Mm.
of messages, and it's heartwarming. It really
Mm.
is, that because for me, I did the program and I did the movies, so, and my mom and dad were so supportive, so I wasn't really alone. But there are people with disabilities out there that go through this alone because they don't think they can speak to anyone because they don't think they'll take them seriously, and that's really sad, you know,
Mm.
that because we're beings to have put on this earth to have experiences and to kind of have that shut down is sad. But yeah, I hope I do help people and I hope I carry on.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's difficult to approach the topic of disability in general as well as sex. I think they're two topics that can be very difficult. I mean, I know a guy who comes to some of my social events and he's in a wheelchair, and it's like that. You just ignore the fact that he's in a wheelchair, and you don't have the conversation of, was it an accident? Have you always been? That just those questions would seem very taboo and intrusive. And then to go to sex would be like another level of intrusion, maybe. So I think people don't really know how to approach the topic. I mean, do you have any advice about what you would like, or do you know what? Do you have any tips?
Yeah, for me, I'd prefer someone to come up to me and say, "What's your condition and how did you get it?" I do get some comments like mainly from younger children, but that's coming from a really innocent place, and they say, "What happened to you?" And
Mm-hmm.
in actual fact, maybe people should be like that,
Mm-hmm.
and as far as sex goes with disability, then just have no preconceptions or no thought, because the I think the most dangerous thing we can have is going into the mind and too much thinking. Whereas if you say to someone, "Hey, just be open with people," and I think that's where we've got unstuck in life. That you know we're just not open with each other anymore. We're living in a society of looking at phones and looking at laptops, and we just don't communicate. And that's the problem. That really is the problem. So I'd say open communication is the key thing to discussing anything. And to be fair, we're in the 21st century now, and A, disability should not be a taboo, and B, sex should not be a taboo, because both have been around for years and years and years and years. But unfortunately, years and years and years ago, people with disabilities were not encouraged to come out into the open. They were hidden away. So to think someone with a disability can also have sex, it's just a mind blower, isn't it, for people? You know.
What blows my mind, just nothing to do with sex, is that all of the technology and how that can help. For example, the guy I met up with, who had seen my article and had the 40 operations to get his feet aligned. I was thinking, oh, where do you live? I'll come to you. And the guy has a car, and he came to where I live, like on a hill, and then and obviously with when our communication, you write back straight away, and like I'm just like thinking, wow, there's a lot of
Uh,
technology that really helps. Can you share any tips
yeah,
or any information about
I,
that?
I use my mouth. I use my mouth for
Okay,
everything.
so is
Yeah.
that
So
vocal, like dictation, or
no, what I do is have a mouth stick,
okay?
and yeah, so I'm able to use a mouse pad on the laptop, and I'm also able to type. And some people have seen me type, and they say to me, able-bodied people say, "Oh my God, you can type faster than me." I'm just like, well, that's the gift I got with the disability.
Yeah, I'm just been amazed at how fast you write back sometimes. It's like, whoa. It's like
Yeah, no,
I was thinking
some
he was
people have,
speaking the messages or something.
yeah, some
Um,
people have said to me before, "Oh, do your mum and dad type for you, like, because it's so fast?" I'm like, no, it's me, like, but yeah, there's so much technology out there, and we are living in the 21st century, and it's getting exciting for not only people with disabilities, but for everyone, and as long as we embrace it, because you get a lot of people that are stuck.
mhm. So, in the documentary, why did you go to Spain for this when you already knew about the brothel in Spain? Why did you want to go on a trip to Spain and not the UK? What's the situation in the UK, and why was Spain a better choice?
Okay, so the England is very closed down on a lot of fronts, and sex being one of them, and anything to do with sex and brothels and escorts is very seem to be very seedy, very a no go area, if you like. So, and me and my dad did the research before we did the Spanish trip, and it's just not happening in England at all, and it's it, it's very dark and underworldy. Whereas when we went to Spain and we saw this place, they work it as they told me that it was neither legal or illegal, and
Like a grey area.
that's how
Mhm.
they were running this place. But it was massive, this absolutely massive place in the middle of like some Arab desert land, and it just looked like something out of Baghdad Cafe, and it was just huge and eye opening. And I honestly believe that if they had more places like these, then people wouldn't be so sexually frustrated, and surely wouldn't that drive the crime rate down?
Mm.
If people weren't so sexually suppressed, because
Mm.
it's seen as a just a oh, don't talk about that, not even with disability in
Mm.
general.
Definitely.
But
Wow.
this place was awesome. Yeah, it was great, and the people were friendly, and I'm not sure it's still there anymore, but apparently they had a lot of business after the documentary. Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
but it was great. It wasn't far from you are where you are actually. So yeah, I don't know if they still exist over there. I think
There's
they're
been a
called
change in
nightclubs.
law that I'm not sure how that affects these things, but I've had a couple of tantric massages I've done for press collaborations. I used to write for El País, and I've
Yeah,
written over 100 articles. That's where I wrote the disabilities, sex disabilities article, and I wrote one about receiving this tantric massage, which was like in exchange for the article. It was crazy. It's no, there's no sex. It's like there's a happy ending, but there's all tantric and like tickling the masseuses naked, and it's very
wow,
sensual. And I think for me at first, I said I didn't want a happy ending because I didn't feel comfortable with someone touching me in an intimate way who was getting paid for it. But then the woman who was like, "Why don't you want it?" And I realized that these people, like, there's a whole, it's very nuanced sex work. There's some people who might be exploited, but other people who really do have this gift and they're like psychologists almost, they know how to
yeah,
read people and make people feel very comfortable. And this girl was like, "Why not? You have to enjoy the whole thing." And anyway, I still kind of maintained the no. But anyway, after this, writing this article, the competition called me and wanted to do the same thing, like sponsored article. We insist, we want you to have the happy ending. So I was like, okay, if you insist. So I had the happy ending, but I felt fine about it. The girl was so nice, and she wanted me to ask her questions about her job because I was writing an article, and it was really, really, really nice. And also, they have all these curtains that you can't see the other clients there because their discretion is really important in these places. I don't know what it's like. Well, obviously, in a brothel might be a bit more open, like a bar, but in these places, like a tantric massage, it's like you go into a waiting area, you don't see anyone else there. And I remember this older guy going there, and it made me kind of like shift my perception. I think, why shouldn't he experience intimacy? Why do we label these people as perverts
exactly,
or whatever? So yeah, I just thought it saw it in a different light. And I think sometimes if you are single for a long time and you don't want to go on dating apps, then what's wrong with a little bit of intimacy?
exactly.
And it
I've
can
had some
be, yeah.
great, I've had some great fun in Spain, and I obviously don't visit brothels anymore because I'm in a relationship now. But we do holiday a lot there, and I'm coming over there on the 5th of February to Malaga.
Mm.
But everywhere, you know, sexually and liberating, and I've always found it outside of the shores of England. We filmed with National Geographic for a piece they were doing in that was in Amsterdam, and it was just great. That they rigged out the whole place with lighting, and in the end, all the escorts and the owners and everyone were dancing around us, and we just had a great big party in there, and there was no hang-ups, and it was fun, and everyone had open minds, and but wouldn't it be incredible if that's the way it always was?
Yeah.
And like you saying about the tantric massage, like why not? Go
Mhm.
for go for a happy ending. It's amazing. I love it. And the Spanish press are great. I was in Mallorca not so long ago at the film festival, and they were just great. They're almost kind of, I don't know, they almost flock to me like, oh, he can talk about sex. This is great.
I do find them quite open-minded because I mean, on the press I've been in, it's just they're very open to sexuality. And I'm going to
They
film.
are.
Yeah,
They're
definitely.
brilliant. I love it. Every press experience I've had over there is amazing. Um, and that's why I went to Spain really, because it was just liberating.
Yeah, I think they embrace new things, new ideas quite easily, especially after the Franco period. Everything's just become they
Yeah,
embrace new technology, new tendencies, new ideas.
absolutely. Yeah,
Definitely.
definitely.
So what are you working on at the moment?
At the moment, I've got a podcast like you. It's called Asta Vision.
Is it
Uh,
new?
it's kind of. It's just kind of ramped up really over the last year and a half. I've had some great guests, and I have to get you on there.
Oh yeah.
Um, and I'm on a daytime program every week. It's a lunchtime program on Channel 4 called Desk Pack Lunch.
Oh,
Um, I'm doing that every week, and yeah, it's things are. I've got an agent and helping people, and it's all going on in the background, and I just think the main thing though for me is to enjoy life and keep connected with who I am and enjoy the moment.
so from what I've just seen from your social media, it's not just focused on sexuality now, it's kind of going a bit more into other topics. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, especially with the Channel 4 program every week.
So what is that
I've,
about?
we
What
do
do you do?
talk. Well, it's a lunchtime kind of magazine show. But I talk about different topics exactly, like whether it be political or what's happened on the day, or because I've had to kind of I've had to diversify a bit because I just can't talk about sex on everything, unfortunately. So, um, yeah, it's fun, and it's just again, it's about open communication.
Yeah, I mean, this podcast for me is not just a sex thing because I was, obviously talking about sex since 2009. And I remember I had this interview with Marie Claire Brazil years ago, and the journalist said, "I'm going to be late. I'm in traffic. Can we postpone?" It's like, "Yeah, fine." When we got on the call, I told her that I had no alarm since 2009. I wake up naturally every day, and she's like, "Wow." So then I realized that I had an orgasmic lifestyle. So it wasn't just about the 750
Love it.
toys that I've tested. It's more about, eating organic, working 4 hours a day, outsourcing, waking up naturally has got to be the best thing ever. And that's what this podcast is about. So I don't just talk about sex. It's also meditation, books, nutrition, spirituality, all of those things.
Yeah, I love that,
Um,
and
mhm.
they all combine into one, really, don't they?
Yeah,
I'm really spiritual, and I meditate, and I find I find going inside to experience the inner peace a lot more less kind of noisy than out there. And I've got a meditation teacher. He's called Prem Rawat, and he travels the world. And he's just he's amazing teacher, and just shows you how to connect to that inner peace, which is
great.
a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I have sexual affirmations on this podcast as well, like things like I am
Cool.
an orgasmic woman or clitoral gratitude affirmations and
I
things like
love it.
that.
I love it.
So I'm
That's
combining,
brilliant.
yeah, it's like making my own dream magazine kind of thing. Because I mean, I think I don't know if it happens to you, but I mean, I find that if you're just talking about sex all the time, it can kind of become desensitized and it can kill your libido. It happened to me a little bit, so I need to kind of make it more, a bit more
Well, it's
diluted.
like if you have anything too much, isn't it? Or think about anything too much, it's not a treat anymore.
Yeah. Like when I was a student, I was a waitress a lot just to get extra money, but I made sure I never was a waitress in a pizza place because I love pizza. So, but now I've got 750 toys, and yeah, I have to kind of find a balance.
750. Where do you keep them all?
I've got a spare room. I'll have to send you a picture.
Cusp.
It's pretty crazy. I have a spare room, and it took me 3 days to organize them all. But I've got them all classified, let's say G Spot or by company as well, and by genre. So it's
Amazing.
yeah, because one day I want to have the Venus O'Hara collection loaned out to some museums or have a pop up because you know how
Hell yeah.
technology gets old very quickly. So maybe in 10, 20 years or something like that. Because there's bigger collection than many shops. So
I love that. That's really
yeah.
cool. The Venus O'Hara sex toy collection. I love it.
Yeah. And then with the reviews in framed next to the toy,
Yeah,
something that's my idea for the future.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's a really good future plan.
Speaking of toys, do there any toys that you find useful? Or that you find
Maybe well, yeah, we got one to try from Enhance, and it was um uh like a bullet,
Mhm.
that a vibrator, but it had like a mouthpiece on the end.
Oh wow.
So I was able to kind of, you know, pleasure my partner in that way as well.
So we're
So
thinking of like a bullet with a wire that you can put in your mouth. Is that the kind of thing we're talking about?
kind of,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's technology, like you say, is definitely coming on, and because
Mm,
pleasure works both ways, doesn't it?
absolutely. So
Yeah,
you're also a speaker, and I'm currently doing Toastmasters because I really want to be,
cool.
do more speaking gigs, and I've started to get paid speaking gigs and travel for speaking. Can you give me any advice on public speaking, or what training have you had?
Oh, do you know what, Venus? I haven't had any training,
Wow,
and that I just, yeah, I get
focus.
nervous, but that's a normal thing. But the thing to do is that, well, the thing I find is that if you have such a passion for something, um, and it comes from the heart, then I don't think you can go wrong. And if you believe in what you're talking about, I don't think you can go wrong. And it's just about taking maybe 5 minutes before you go on and focusing and maybe meditating, and you just find it just flies. Then that's how I do it.
Do you have a script or bullet points?
No,
You just like go on and share your
yeah,
story.
everything's unscripted and unbulleted, and yeah, it just flows from the heart, and
Oh, channeling.
that that's how I've always, yeah, I've channeled all the time. Like with my podcasts, I don't I do, this might sound bad, but I do very little research because I want the other person to tell the story. So, and it starts when it starts to flow, it starts to channel, and it becomes organically beautiful.
That's fantastic. I don't know if you're familiar with Toastmasters, but it's a kind of method and it's way too robotic. And I'm going to, the last speech I gave was totally unrehearsed and I had a much better experience because I did a speech last year that I knew quite well. I went blank twice, which is, the worst fear because I
Well,
think I over rehearsed.
yeah, if you,
Mm.
I tend to find that if I rehearse, I'm thinking more about the rehearsed stuff that I'd done instead of
Just
letting
being
it
in the
happen in the
moment. Yeah.
moment. Yeah, it's like it just works organically better, a lot better, and that's my best advice. Like, just don't overthink it.
Yeah, because I'm going to take part in a speech contest this year. It's called At Least I Can Smile. I don't know if you know this, but I actually woke up with Bell's palsy in 2020.
No,
It was it was the most awful experience because I just woke up and I looked at my face and it was like totally droopy.
wow,
And I mean, I just couldn't register for a while. I went to the hospital and I was distraught. It was the worst thing emotionally it's ever happened to me because I couldn't make videos and everyone was wearing masks, but I couldn't close my eye. And I had to do
No
facial
way.
yoga for a month to get my face back and then to get my smile. So I've got this whole deep kind of story, but I didn't even need because I've told the story millions of times. So I just have to make sure it's less than 7 minutes, otherwise I get disqualified. So that's going to be my thing. That's for mine because at least
What?
now I'm yeah.
How did that happen? Do you
I
know
don't
the
think
cause of it?
people. I don't think people really know the cause, but I did sleep on a cold surface, so I might have because this nerve comes out here and it goes to the eye, the nose, and the mouth, so it affected the whole thing and made it droop. Then I had to take steroids, but I think every painful experience is an awakening or a lesson, and I just spent 3 or 4 weeks just crying and meditating, and it was a really deep experience, and just being grateful now. I used to wake up and just check I can smile. So now, whenever I'm a bit down, I think, oh, at least I can smile, because to lose your smile and but one thing that happened was kind of funny from this story is that I went to one of my co-workings after a couple of weeks after it happened, and everyone gathered around me. I was telling the story, and a guy joined the conversation a bit late. I didn't want him to be looking at me thinking, what's wrong with her? So I said, oh, I've got facial paralysis. And he said, oh, I thought you'd had Botox. So
No
I just thought
way.
I would never do Botox now because why would you try and pay for that look of like not being able to move your face, you know?
Exactly, exactly. It's something I wonder a lot.
Yeah.
Oh
So
my
yeah,
God, that's incredible, isn't it? So
yeah.
yeah, I agree. From every experience, it is an awakening, and we're meant to have these experiences, I think, on the journey.
Because it must be really crazy for you, like going on holiday to Spain, and then this has become your life's mission in a completely organic, with unplanned way. Would that be? Is that safe to say? Is it like that?
Yeah, yeah, I think it's not just like you, it's not just the sex side either. It's
Mm,
just getting people to open their minds more
mm,
and seeing people with disabilities as human beings. Because there's nothing more heart wrenching than someone seeing you as different. Or I mean,
mm.
difference is good. I like individuality, and we're all unique, but to say someone, because I know people with disabilities who get attacked in the street and stuff, and it's like, you
Why
know,
would anyone do
I,
that?
I just don't understand. So to me, my mission is about embracing people for who they are, and whatever they look like is that's what they were born like, and that's it. It's very simple.
Hmm. Great. So a couple of few quick questions for you. What is the book that changed your life?
The book.
Do you into
Oh God.
books?
Yeah, probably actually Prem Rawat's book.
Is that your
Um,
meditation teacher?
yeah, yeah, it's called oh God, this is bad. It's called How to Experience Peace in a Noisy World.
Oh, that's amazing. Nice
Yeah, so
title.
it's a really good book, and it's launched in Spain as well, and I highly recommend reading it. So that's probably my go-to.
Great. And which phrase or affirmation or quote or philosophy do you live by?
um, just I know it's people are saying it more and more now, and it's almost becoming a kind of cliche, but just live in the moment,
Hmm.
because otherwise we just get ripped off everywhere if we're not in the moment. And don't worry, because fear is the biggest killer. Stress is the biggest killer. So don't fear and don't worry, and go through life like that.
Some great advice. So where can people find you?
You can find me on my website, astaphilpot.com.
And Philpot
I'm
with
on
two
Inst
T's. Yeah. Is that, yeah.
just one.
Oh, there's one. Okay.
That's the one.
Okay.
And I'm on Instagram, Asta Philpot.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah,
And the
just
podcast?
And the podcast is Asta Vision. That's
Okay.
on YouTube and everywhere else you get your podcasts.
Amazing. So thank you so much for joining us today on the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast. It's definitely been a pleasure.
Oh, it's my pleasure's all mine. I've really enjoyed it, and it's nice to connect with you again.
Thanks so much. The book I'm reading now is The Think and Grow Rich Workbook, adapted from Napoleon Hill's landmark classic, Think and Grow Rich. In this workbook is The Practical Steps to Transforming Your Desires into Riches by Joel Fotinos and August Gold. August Gold, what a great name, Gold, for a book like this. I've probably told you already about my love for the book Think and Grow Rich. It definitely changed my life when I read it back in 2019. And it is the best-selling book of success of all time, which is interesting because it was actually published in 1937, and it offers timeless information, it's timeless knowledge, and it's something that I think is good to go back to every year or even every couple of years. And when I discovered this workbook, I thought, wow, because sometimes when you read a book, you can just read, but how much do you retain and how much do you actually apply the learnings to your life? I think a workbook is a great way to actually, do some exercises that relate to each chapter. And also what I'm doing is that there are 13 steps to riches. And I'm actually going to meet a friend today who's also bought the book. And we're going to meet every week and go over each chapter at a time. We'll go over each, the workbook exercises for each chapter so we can really help each other. And then we've got some accountability, and it's going to make us, hopefully we can bounce off each other, because I always think it's a good idea to share these things with someone else, because sometimes reading can be such a solitary thing. Sometimes when I read a book and I reach the end, I can feel quite sad. I feel like I'm saying goodbye to a friend or something like that. And then when you have this feeling of this friend leaving, you don't know, you've got no one to share it with. So it's kind of nice to share this experience. And I'm going to start today. And also, when I bought this book, in the introduction at the beginning, I was very inspired when I actually read this, which is a note from the authors of this workbook. It says, "This companion workbook was the one we created for ourselves to use during our 13-week program, and we knew that if it helped us, it could also make doing the work easier for others. We've since shared our workbook pages with many people over the past several years, and have heard firsthand from others how having the exercises and highlights from the Think and Grow Rich put into a workbook form aids in the Think and Grow Rich journey. Our book is used most successfully as a companion as you read a copy of Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. However you use it, make sure you use it with an open mind." Yeah, so I'm actually going over one chapter at a time of the original book. So I've just read the introduction and the chapter of Desire again. And that's what I'm going to be working on this afternoon with a friend. And I've got an exercise book where I've done all of the exercises already in pencil. Because I know that this workbook, I don't like to write in books. And I know it's something I'm going to come back to once in a while. Because I think once you start thinking bigger, then you start to attract bigger things into your life, and you start to really see the possibility. So I know every time I've read Napoleon Hill, it definitely makes me attract new projects, and it helps me to believe in my capabilities a bit more. So that's and it's also very, very important to know what you want, because sometimes when you ask someone, what do you want? Not everyone can. A lot of people struggle with that because they don't really know. But unless you are clear about what you want in life, then it's going to be difficult for you to actually, move towards it, take actions that are going to help you to achieve that thing. It's like, for example, I heard this analogy once, when if you go down to the port of Barcelona and you go and speak to a captain of a ship, they all know where their next port is going to be, where the next destination is. But if you imagine a ship going, I'm just going to go into sea and see what happens, you really have to know where you're going in life, and have that, and have a destination, and also enjoy the journey, of course. So this is I'm really excited about this next 13 weeks of doing this workbook. And I think it's definitely going to be something that I go back to several times in my life, because I really do appreciate the knowledge and gifts that I have received from this book, Think and Grow Rich. And I'm not the only one, because that's why it is the best-selling book of success of all time. So yeah, I highly recommend this workbook, and I'm looking forward to especially getting to the chapter on sex transmutation. And that's really the chapter that changed my life, because I saw it and I was thinking, whoa, why is there a chapter about sexuality in a book about success? And it's all about how to transmute the power of your sexuality and use it in an empowering way, which is definitely something that I think definitely helps us to overcome sexual taboo. When we understand the power of sexuality, it's not something to be ashamed of. It's something to use in an intelligent way and in an intentional way, which is also tied in with the theme of today of overcoming sexual trauma, shame, and appreciating this incredible gift of sexuality, because it's very, very powerful. It's not just about pleasure. Pleasure is just the beginning. And that is the book I'm reading now, the Think and Grow Rich workbook, adapted from Napoleon Hill's landmark classic Think and Grow Rich by Joel Fotinos and August Gold. Now it's time to slow things down as we prepare for this episode's guided affirmations meditation. It's probably not a good idea to listen to this while driving or operating machinery. Instead, take a break from whatever you're doing, get comfortable, take a deep breath, and enjoy. My sexuality is a gift. I enjoy my body. I give my body pleasure. I let go of sexual shame. I overcome sexual taboo. I let go of guilt and replace it with gratitude. I am grateful for the gift of sexuality. My sexuality is a gift. I enjoy my body. My body is a temple. I take care of my sexual boundaries. I only do what feels good. I invite the energy of sexual ecstasy into my life. I am grateful for the gift of sexuality. My sexuality is a gift. I enjoy my body. I invite orgasmic energy into my life. I am sharing this gift with a loving partner. I am enjoying the gift of pleasure when I'm alone. Sex is beautiful. I am grateful for the gift of sexuality. My sexuality is a gift. I enjoy my body. I appreciate the sensation of a caress. I appreciate the warmth of a hug. I can express my sexual desires to a comprehensive partner. My pleasure is important. I am grateful for the gift of sexuality. My sexuality is a gift. I enjoy my body. I am ready to give pleasure. I am ready to receive pleasure. My body deserves to feel Intimacy is a divine gift. I am grateful for the gift of sexuality. To find out more about me and my orgasmic lifestyle, visit venusohara.org or follow me on Instagram at instagram.com/venusohara. Make sure to search for the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast by Venus O'Hara in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Make sure to click subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Thanks for listening, have an orgasmic week, and make sure every day is a climax.